Hi, this is the Black Bear Prepper. Today we're going to be talking about cope again. And we're going to also be talking about how to set up your belay for the Eddy belay device, my preferred device. Also in our other videos we'll be talking about the Gree belay device, the other device we use in this particular situation. Now, the way we use a Gree or an Eddy or a Sum or any of the other auto-locking belay devices as a backup to you. We're going to use them as an ATC device, a non-breaking device, and we're going to use them in that form. What I mean by that is you are the primary. So when you're braking, that you are using the device only to release the weight, and then your hand releases the rest of the weight. Now, as a belayer, setting up a belay, we're going to come up here, we're going to check our device, make sure we're in the good spot here. We want to hear that audible click, and if you have one of the pirate devices, we can see the visual lock symbol. We want to come up to our device, make sure that the rope, now this is backwards from the people that have the Gree, the rope hand is your brake hand, the climber is your climber. Now, I like the Eddy belay devices for a few backups. One, you have a thumb release to release rope in a slack type situation if the person needs slack. Even if the person fell while we were doing that, it automatically relocks. This is an auto-locking belay device, not to be depended on, but it auto-locks. It's not a brake assist device, it's an auto-locking device. Now that is my idea because it locks every single time you pull the trigger. Now, the problem with some of the other devices out there is if you grab on to release, what ends up happening is you're going to grab here, release, and if the person falls, unless you let go, grab your device, it will not lock. The Eddy relocks in most situations, not to be depended on, but in most situations much more safe than all the other devices. Now, when we're releasing the person down, we use our device here. If we do what we call a panic pull, somebody falls and we pull too far, it will relock. The device will lock back into place as the person comes down. We'll show you that in a minute. Or if I let go, it relocks into place. Not all devices do that. So something I really like in that term. The other thing is in long releases, when we're releasing the person way down in a long distance, this tends to stay cooler than some of the other smaller devices out there. But Eddy belay device, definitely one of my favorites. Now, we're going to go ahead and go through a rappel or a belay and show you what we're looking for. So we're going to have our belayer come up. So come on up here. We're going to check the person to make sure that they are through. And this one actually got spun on us here. So we want to make sure that our blade of our carabiner is locked. So we want to check that. We want to check all of their safeties to make sure their dangers are covered and doubled back on his harness here, and that we're not using the blade loop on the climber. So we're going to use a sport knot. So we're going to check we use figure 8 knots. So we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8. And then 10 is the last two here with a safety knot, whatever safety knot you use. But the most important is the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 counting off. The other thing we want to see is no more than a fist of length here. We don't want the person to be able to get their hand stuck in the device. So we're going to go ahead and have him walk backwards, back up to the ladder. And you're going to be watching as we take in rope. Right over here. So what we're going to have them do, we have a ladder set up here and a belay system. So like I said, normally I want you to be able to see my hands, what my hands are doing here. So I'm not going to be set up I'm going to be without gloves today. But normally we'd always be wearing gloves. Okay, so what we're going to do is as we're taking up, we do not want to have our hand in this direction. One, that's the weakest point of our hand, so it can slip out of our hand. The new standard is that we actually cover thumb facing device. So you'll see that a lot. Thumb facing away device, wrong. Thumb facing towards your belay device, proper. The reason for that is if we look right here, if I throw my rope up, the problem people have is they grab onto both ropes. This happens in a lot of the belay devices. The belay device will not catch. With an ATC it will not work. With a gree-gree it will not work. With an Eddy, chances are it will catch. We don't want to depend on that. So what we're going to do is make sure that we leave our hand here. We're going to pull towards our hand, lock up, and make down. We're going to keep pulling. So we're going to go ahead and climb slowly. We're going to pull up, never letting our hands cross over, grabbing with our finger, pulling, pulling, and pulling. Now once they get to a point of where we don't want to let them have too much tension here, we're going to go ahead and break. So we're going to go ahead and have the climber is going to yell falling.
Falling.
Okay? We're going to keep it braked because remember, we are the primary in this system. So what I want you to do is watch the belay device here. So go ahead and he's going to fall. So now he's weighted the system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the handle on the belay device back to where it unlocks. So it's going to unlock, give me tension, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to control the fall from my hand over here, just like an ATC device. So I can sit there and control the fall. Now if I pull too hard, the system relocks and I can't do anything here, which is why I like the Eddy. If I let go, it relocks. Okay? So we're going to try that one more time. We'll do it with calls this time. So you're going to see that one more time. Again, we want to have our hand in the right position. So he's going to say
Climbing.
on
belay.
He's going to say on belay, loud.
On belay.
And then I'm going to say belay on. He's going to say climbing.
Climbing.
Hold on. You need to make sure that when that person says climbing, they understand not to climb until you say climb on. Okay, the reason for that is because if you're not ready and they start to move, that's your thing. They're asking questions. When they say belay on, they're asking you, is the belay on? You're going to say then belay is on, but you're going to say it in belay on. Now what that means for them is, okay, you're ready. Do not say that until you're ready for them to start basically getting ready to climb. So we're going to go ahead and take up tension at that point when they say belay on. Then go ahead and say belay on.
Belay on.
Loud.
Belay on.
Okay, I'm going to say on belay. He's going to say
climbing.
And he's not going to move until I say climb on. Those are very important reasons or wording that we use. It's communication. Now in a situation like a climbing wall or something like that, not as big a deal. Outdoor climbing, that's going to be a bigger problem. Okay, if we get out into the outdoor climbing situation, a lot of times they get high enough to where we can't hear them, so, or see them even. So a lot of times what we'll do is make sure that they can hear you. He's going to go ahead and we're going to belay on.
On belay.
No, belay on. On belay.
Climbing.
Climb on. Once he's done that, I'm going to go ahead and get in my position here. We're going to slowly work our way up. He's going to get up. He's going to get to the very top of what we're doing here. I can see now what I also want to be is I want to be watching my climber. Sometimes they fall, but I can see it ahead of time. I can sit there and say, oh gosh, he's going to fall before I hear falling. You know, I want to watch to see, are they having trouble? Are they in a bad spot? Also, I always want to keep tension on the rope as much as possible if their feet, where their feet are on the wall or anything they're doing, is not above their head. So if they're 5 foot tall, we really want to keep that 5 to 6 foot range. So we want them at least 5 to 6 feet off the ground for them to fall. Versus having them fall at 4 feet, a lot of times there's enough stretch and a dynamic rope for them to hit the ground without any tension whatsoever. So we want to say, okay, if you're below that 5 foot or 6 foot mark, we want to have them climb back down to the ground because they will not be protected, and have a person to guide them onto the ground, a spotter. So for this one, he's got to the top. We're going to go ahead and say,
Falling.
I'm going to say fall on. He's going to go ahead and fall. I'm going to break. Now once I do my braking position, like I said, I bring the device into the sweet spot. Excuse me. I bring my device into the sweet spot here with my hand. What I'm going to do is hold it with my hand up against the device, not out here. This is hard to control. See how it locked? We're talking about a device that locks here, not here. So we're going to pull it back into the sweet spot so we feel the tension release. We have our angle properly. Remember, we're not coming straight out of the device, because remember, if I bring my rope up, there's all the tension is being brought back onto the device and it will come down faster. I can control the speed of the fall, not by the handle, but by the angle of my hand. So I keep my hand in the back. I've got them tensioned. I can hold them all day like this. Even if the belay device fails and sticks in the open position, I still can hold them right here. What I'm going to do at that point, I find them in the sweet spot, and I can sit there. I can bring them up farther if I want to have them come down quicker, or break back farther. I never let go of this hand. I never let go of my brake hand. Now once they've got to the ground, I can come up and I can ask, they're going to say off belay.
Off belay.
When they are in a safe position. Still check. Just because they said off belay doesn't mean they're off belay. So you want to look at them and say, okay, are they in a safe position? And then at that point, I can take my thumb, bring it up here. I can take my hand here. I'm going to grab the tip of the rope. I'm going to pull back to release pressure and release the belay device down. I never let go of the belay device, or the brake hand. My brake hand still stays here. So even, like I said, again, we're going to go ahead and weight it back up again. If I bring my hand up here, I'm going to go ahead and pull the device back, allowing the belay device to release, and go ahead and release out as much as I need without taking my hand off the belay device, or off the brake hand, sorry. Whew. Brake hand. Okay? Next, we'll be talking about the Gree belay device. So as always, have a great day.